Hi, it's Dr. Lynn Kenny, and we are back on Bloom Brain Smarts with one of the founding fathers of physical education in America, Paul Rosengard. He was one of the co-founders, is currently one of the co-founders of the SPARK Physical Education and Activity Program. He's been an athletic director, he's been a PE teacher, he's worked on NIH grants, and I've known him for a long time and really appreciate you joining us because this is what we want to know. Paul, PE has changed a lot in the 40 years that you worked in PE. What are some of the essential changes that happened, and what can you offer to teachers and clinicians who are watching so that they feel really up to date and with it?
Well, thanks, Lynn, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks so much for asking me to join you today, and appreciate the great questions. So I guess one of the things I want to say was a real benchmark in our profession is the emergence of data-driven and evidence-based content. So for years, when I was a physical education teacher, we would be kind of doing our own thing. And that would include a lot of untested theory and trying things that we thought were good for kids and that we thought would be effective. And, I think most of the time we all did a pretty good job at that. Yet over time, and I'm, really proud to have been a part of this, we began doing more research in our own profession. Physical education was a discipline that was not researched. And thanks to my colleagues, Jim Salas, Tom McKenzie, and a lot of others now, over the last 25 years, physical education has been studied much more thoroughly. So I think a real turning point has been the emergence of learning from our own data and then replicating things that actually work. One of the analogies I always ask people is, would you take medicine that was not shown to be effective? And yet, as we search the internet and we pull ideas and resources from here and there, a lot of those resources really have never been put to the test and shown to work with kids in a variety of settings. So I guess I want to say that the evidence-based evolution, which has included MVPA, moderate to vigorous physical activity, how to not only generate higher levels of that during class, but how to promote MVPA outside of class. Those are two things that have resonated most with me and I think have been really important for our profession in physical education.
So for the teachers who are watching, I'm hesitating because there's so many things I want to ask you. How do you suggest that they get more movement in the classroom? We were paying attention to taking brain breaks, then we were doing 5 and 45. Now we're realizing you've got to move throughout the whole day. Right. People like Stacy Shoecraft are bringing bikes into the classroom. What can the everyday teacher do when they've got 35 kids in the classroom?
Well, it's a great question, and I think there are tons of resources out there to do in limited space. So this is kind of the way I classify this. Classroom is great. It's a more limited space environment. So that might open up people's minds just a bit. The difference between physical education and classroom can simply be those walls being pulled in or stretched out, or having the ability to go outside quickly, get onto a field or a blacktop or some other space where kids can be active. So there are a lot of options. One of my favorites, to throw a couple of plugs in, I really like SPARK's program, which is called ABCs. It's Activity Break Choices. And that was designed specifically to give not only classroom teachers more integrated classroom activity and also activities that are not integrated with other core subjects. I say other core subjects because I believe physical education is a core subject. And that's a very good one. And I also like the Peaceful Playgrounds program a lot. I think Dr. Melinda Bossenmeyer has done a tremendous job, and she has a Brain Breaks. It's not really my favorite name because I don't think we really take brain breaks. But her Brain Breaks in the classroom I think are excellent. Those are two of my favorite choices that I recommend, and I do that because there's evidence behind them.
Right.
Tying that into my original point, which is, use things that have been tested, use things where there's some data showing that they've been done with kids, they've been done with teachers, there is effectiveness and there is efficacy.
It's interesting because one of the things that I tweak the most out of Spark, and I have your program and love your program, the ABCs, is your scope and sequence. I mean, it's really a great relief to teachers who have to be evidence-based to know that Spark is aligned. It's amazing, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful document because it helps you, if you're not a PE person, kind of know what kinds of skills at what grades and ages kids are capable of doing.
Exactly. Such a good point. I mean, I taught at UCSD for 11 years. I taught future teachers how to teach physical education, and I had some really brilliant students. If you look up the where UCSD is and the students that go to UCSD, and pretty much every person in my class was a lot smarter than I am then and now. So when I was teaching at UCSD, and I had these really brilliant kids, they were applying what they learned in my class to the real world. And they were able to do that because I was helping them, pointing the way towards evidence-based solutions and doing things that would work well. Now, the other point I want to make about them is that they, as smart as those kids were, they are not curriculum writers. They are not content writers.
Right.
And whether they're majors or they're not majors, when students go to teach, often they're handed their English textbook, they're handed their math textbook, and you certainly want to elaborate on that, and you want to add all of your own good things to it and embellish it. Students are not curriculum writers, and they used to not have something where, for those first years of teaching, they would have a foundation to build on. And that's one of the things that we did in Spark was we were able to do that scope and sequence. We were able to tie in the scaffolding approach where we were layering on at grade level. And then when we rewrote Spark to align it to the national and state standards, then it fit even better in terms of your instructional alignment, coming all the way down from the standards and really teaching to standards. So I think that those things are really important, and that leads me into one of the things I want to mention, which is how great it is to be a physical education teacher or other teacher these days. While there are many challenges, I think it's an important time, really because of the emergence of digital availability, social media, other platforms that have connected teachers not only to one another, where they weren't connected before for free, but connected them with amazing opportunities for professional development and personal growth. And between Twitter and Voxer and even Facebook and others to certain degrees, I think there's just an amazing wealth now of resources at people's fingertips that are free or really affordable. And it's just nothing that I had when I was teaching. And I think people should be really, grateful for this technology evolution.
Well, we're here on Bloom Brain Smarts today with Paul Rosengard. He's one of the co-founders of SPARK PE, the curriculum and the physical activity programs. Hey, I loved everything you said, and thank you so much for joining us. I know that there are teachers who are participating in our training who want to incorporate more PE. They want to understand it better, and because you've been in it for 40 years, you've done a beautiful job helping them understand more and telling them about some terrific resources.
Thank you.
I hope.
Appreciate
Hey,
it.
my joy. Have a glorious day. We'll talk soon.
You too. Thanks.
Okay.